あ、音入ってる。あれ読み込んでね。あ、読み込んだわ。よっこらせ。おい、よくわかんねえゲームの続きやるぞ。でもなんか、起動するたんびに、今の時間教えてくださいって言われる。四十から満足でーす。えー、っと、えー、っと、AM、PM だから、PM の、あれか。あ、間違えた。8時にしちゃった。え、始める前にちょっと待って。待って。怖い。何ちょっと待って。は、時間間違えて入力したからやり直そうと思ったんだけど。これやり直して平気かな。何せよ時間間違えたからな。はあ。よし。あれ、なんかで変更されちゃったかな。オッケー、やるか。よっこらせ。いきます。あ、8になってる。8、7、5、4、3、2、1。ほい。やっぱ入るわ。やっぱ待って。待って。おい、トップページいけねえって。トップページいけねえよ。どないせいっちゅうんや。え、待ってって何？ちょっと待って、翻訳出してねえわ。起動したと思った忘れた。ほい、ポン。オッケーオッケー。待って。始める前にちょっと一言いいですか？ゲームを起動したとき、2回ともちゃんと時計を設定してくれてありがとうございます。どういうこと？どういうこと？設定したけど。はい。ほとんどの人はこのステップを真剣に捉えないんです。彼らはただ12時前に切り上げてしまうのです。 でもあなたは実際に時間を合わせてくれましたし、私はそれに感謝しているんです。それってあなたがこの体験を大切にして、ちゃんと注意を払ってくれてることだと思うんです。はい。あなたが合わせた時間が正しいか、知るすべはないんですけどね。殴るぞ、こいつ。そうだ、こうしましょうよ。あなたは協力的ですし、どうせだったら、次にこのゲームを起動して、この画面が表示されたら、あなたの好きな、一番好きな時間を設定してください。どうぞ、セットしたい時間を好きに選んで、正しい時間でなくても構いませんよ。あなたがちゃんと協力してくれたからですよ。よし。それじゃあ、そろそろゲームに戻りましょうか。おい、2になったまんまだって。やばい、こいつ起動の概念がある。やばい、このゲーム起動の概念がある。マジか。ヤッホー、クシパさん、ヤッホー。あのさ、このゲームさ、今最初見てたかどうかは知らんのだけどさ、このゲーム、起動を数える概念があるぞ。こいつ、起動を数える概念がある。いや、あのさ、昨日さ、起動した時に確かにさ、時間設定したじゃん。よしって言って今日も時間設定したらさ、なんか、あなたはすごく協力的ですねみたいなこと言われた。そして、まあでも私に時間が合ってるかどうか知るすべはないんですけどねとかって言われたから無駄なんだなって思った。無駄なことをやらされた。そして、ザ・スタンリー・パラブル2のままです。またバケツだよ。
This is the story.
これはまあ知ってるから飛ばしますね。で、2になってるせいでさ。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
2になってるのは確かにあれなんだけど。バケツ。置いてっていいかな。それともちゃんと外出るのかな。バケツ持っていかなくても反応しなくなったの。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
あ、違え、間違って入っちゃった。これ確か4個まで集めたよね、4個まで。ルート変えて探しに行かないといけないのかな。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
あー、ここにあったの。そっか、ここ回収しちゃった。あー、ここ永遠に回るところか。じゃあよくねえな。それだったらまだこっち行くな。開かなくなってる。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unwrapped, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age
ドア開か
music.
ねえって。おい、ドア開けって。 おい、ドア開けって。 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 おい 音楽いらねえよ。やばい、違う動作入ってる。
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked
爆速でやるとこいつスネルっぽいな。で、ここに前あってだよね。すねたよ、あいつ。音楽かけ始めたよ。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
とりあえず
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
エスケープはさ、バケツを持っててしか行ったことないんだよな。でも多分一緒なんだよな。ただ鉄道を大事にしねえみたいなこと言われたけど。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to
すげ
himself.
え。
Did he have the strength to find
バケツ
out?
ガン無視。あんだけバケツ持ってくっていう話だったのにバケツガン無視よ。
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this
と
time?
りあえずこの
Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
第一の流れは変わんなそうだよ。
No. He refused to believe it.
喋ってる
He
こと一緒だもん
couldn't
な。
accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it?
ちょっとしますよ
Was
ね。
it
なん
even
でこっちに聞くん
possible?
だ。
Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Oh.
For he would dismantle the controls once and
ほら
for
ほ
all.
ら、いらっしゃい。番号あるってことはなんか押せんのかな。3。4？ 5だな。4が上？何番かわからない。上がれないのかな。扉は閉まってんな。くっ あ
And when at last he found the
とりあえずこれで最初のエンディングか。外に出るで変わんないのかな。
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
あー変わんなそう。
Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine.
あー変わんなそう。
Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking,
あー変わんな
but
そう。
happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to
あ
go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be
ーセカンドって言われ
his.
てからもうどうしようもなかったの
That
に。
was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
「ダメだ戻るって選択肢がない」
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling
Ah.
of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen.
じゃあこれがスタンリー・ザ・ウルトラ・デラックスへいつなるんだ。あー鼻があー
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
でき
simply
れば
missed a
さなんか
memo.
謎のパスワードっていうかさ入れるところさ
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt
Ah!
away as
ゼロに
Stanley
なってる。
embraced the bucket.
ゼロになってるインプット。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to it. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere
おい
else.
バケツが問いかけてるぞ。
Yes, good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did
Buckets?
not question why or how this
Buckets?
bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him,
I don't know.
and he unthinkingly
Oi.
did whatever the bucket asked.
バケツを何だと思ってんだこいつ。
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
ああ電
Now
話出
pick
た。
up the phone.
ああ女の人のやつだ。奥さんの
This
くだ
is
り
the
だ。
sad story of a man named Stanley.
えバケツの話になってる。
Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
おい奥さんの話じゃないバケツの話になってる。
Stanley Parable reassurance bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head. Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
本体へ戻るため。
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
バケツに依存してね。バケツに依存し始めたよ。大丈夫かな。バケツに依存し始めたけど。このうるさい男の言うことは聞くな。
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
君の人生で僕以外の全員を無視するために M を押してる。
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
バケツに関心寄せてどうすんだよ。あれ、電源消せない。
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store
テ
bucket.
レビ見てっけど
It's
も。
just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid.
バケツってチョイスしたのお前だからな。
amount of water from one room to another. Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
バケツエンドってこと？家へ仕事へ、家へ仕事へ、家へ仕事へ帰るために X を押せ。
Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No, 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 no. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome
これ
situation.
全部にバケツあるよ。バケツ。バケツ。
Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it.
Wait,
Give
yeah,
it to
yeah,
me
yeah.
now. Give it or I'll...
ねえ、何が起きてんだよ。バケツ？終わったが。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
おい、
Stanley
バケツ
decided
の
to
運命
go
終
to
わ
the
ったっ
meeting room.
て。
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
2個目だ。バケツね。バケツも違う。ちゃうな。 回バケツ持ちながら会議室に戻らんかったんだよな。
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in it. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the
あと
place to
2
be.
つ人形はど
And
こ
here
に
it
あるの？
was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
そうだね、あっち行ったんだよね。
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
下でなんか最初年狂ったんだよね。いや、右、いや、左、いや、
Oh,
右。
good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
あったっちゃんおい、待って。今までの総集編みたいなグッズの集め方してるって。
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley.
私が言って
We've
た
come
赤ちゃん、
together
これ
here
やん。
because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet, because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite
変の
jokes,
話がやっ
not
と出
this
たわ。
bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
やっと続編の話がやっと来た。でもね、お前に出会いたかったんだけど、お前に出会う方法知らんかったから、なんか続編に来ちゃったよ、もう。
Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
おい、またふざけた音楽流れ始めたって。またこれだよ。
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
チェンバ。
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character.
裏。
This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters?
Well, you see, if you were to really explore the bucket destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of bucket destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the bucket destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the adventure line or the bucket destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it.
入れてんだっつってんだろ。
Give the fans what they want. Hurry and
あ。ずっとこっちチラチラ見るんだもん。え？何？
The bucket destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now.
入れたかったって。
Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
入れたかったって。何を言ってんだこいつは。で戻らせんの？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
バケツいる？
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
言ったよな。どっち行ったっけ？
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't
こ
fired
こも
years
来たはず
ago.
なんだよな。赤ちゃんのターンど
Look,
こだったっ
Stanley, I
け？
think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
死亡エンドあるんか
Good
い。
job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
死亡エンドあるのか
All of
ー
his
い。
co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
だと飛び
Stanley
移れんの
decided
か
to
なあ
go
れ
to。the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
ここの
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Not the bucket.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked
Atta.
through the... You're getting close now, Stanley. You've
Atto,
nearly
mo ikko
gotten
ka.
all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one. And then the first number will equal the second number. And that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and
もう一
Marines.
個がどっか
None
にあ
of
る
us
んだよな、きっ
can.
とな。え、じゃあ青にする。
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see.
めっちゃ文
Help
句言わ
me
れて
here,
る。
Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were
テ
before.
クスチャ
Go
バグっ
ahead,
て
Stanley.
る。
Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Clearly there's something here that speaks to you. If I can be honest here, I really don't have any idea where I'm going with this. This whole third door thing was just a stab in the dark. But I guess you're into it, so let's keep this party train rolling. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
なんか増えた。いや。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you
sorry,
feel
Stanka.
motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
はいはい。
Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game,
おい、来た赤ちゃんゲーム。
towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
うるせえ。これ、ずっとやんなきゃいけなかったっけ？ うーん。4時間もやる気はないんだけどさ。
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas.
4時間もやってられっかよ。
I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
はい。
Aha! Fascinating.
待って、何のゲーム始まったこれ。
Stanley. What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
何のゲーム始まったこれ。降りるのそっちかよ。おい、何のゲーム始まったんだよこれ。しかも思ったより普通に質がいいし。
No, 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 it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
覆われてる。
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
おい、またなんかロードが始まったって。
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must.
おい、何のゲーム始まるんだっ
Here's
て。
the ball. Have fun.
あー、しかもちょっと速くなった。普通にサッカーやってんだけど。
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
おい、ボール増えたって。
Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls.
増やしすぎでは？
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real
何を
video
やってんだ
game?
ろう僕は。
Well, I sure hope you're having a good time because guess what? It's over. Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
スタンリー戻ってきたよって言われた。あ。戻ってくる方法がわからんな。おろ。
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now.
観測者がど
I
こ
wonder if
に
he's happy with his choice.
どこに
And
観
if he's
測
learned
され
the
てるの
heavy
かわかんなく
cost
なった
that
ってこ
comes
と？
with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon.
お前は何を求め
I
ているん
can
だ？
wait.
あ、戻った。ん？
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk,
翻訳を出せ、
cereal,
翻
dish
訳を。
soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
電話とかも増えてる。相変わらずバケツはあるね。
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not
バ
truly
ケツと
alone.
共に
Not
進んだ
with
ら
the
どうなる
bucket
よ。
around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because But Stanley feared that any path he walked
誰だ？
might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he
高
threw
さ足りんか
himself
っ
to his
た。
death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
そう
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
一生ごっことはありませんって言った動いちゃった。
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling
バケツへ
adventure
のなんか
together.
言葉ちょいちょい変わるな。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall.
Oh.
You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no
書いてありますね。
buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
はいはい
I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness. I think we have to do something about it.
はいどっか開
This
けて
misunderstanding
おい
could
どっか
have
開けて
dire consequences on the entire rest of the
ど
game
っか開けて
if
って
not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Is,
Now then, I'm going to
is
run you
this
through
a
some
bucket?
test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket.
はい
Simple enough, right? This should tell us
Right.
everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin.
あまあ正直にいきましょう。
Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an
ぶっ
actual
殺すぞお前
bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual.
それはバケツじゃん 3D プリントで作ったところでバケツはバケツだよ
Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
これはバケツなんか
Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a
これ
bucket.
は
To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. This is a bucket.
あ理由を言え理由を
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
どういうこと両方ってどういうことよ
Item. Wait, hold on. I can't find the next. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless, is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
いや、別に。
You know what? I'm too confused to even
なんで
sort
お
it
前が
out.
混乱するん
I've
だよ
lost。all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere
これ
moments
バケ
ago,
ツ
I
の
could
ゲ
answer
シュタル
this
ト崩
question
壊
with
起きてるっ
confidence.
て。
And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket?
お前はバケツじゃないよ。
Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
おい、バケツ消えたって
What。happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either.
バケツという
Oh,
概
this is
念。
wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at
おい、
ease
世界
right
暗いっ
now.
て。
It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what. I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone
全部
else,
バケツ
maybe
で
don't
作られてるっ
mention
てこ
them.
と？
Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
バケツって認識したら、
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned?
ちゃんと
He
なん
made a
か
note to be more careful with time from now
言葉の
on.
チョイスはちゃんとなんかしてんだよな。バケツ。バケツ持って下行けないから。あとバケツ持って何してない？
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
あ、いた。
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
初めて入った。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to
Ah,
his
loopだ。
boss's office.
バケツ持ってても下はループしたよな。どないせっちゅうねん。変わってないし。3つ目がここのパソコンなのまではいいけどさ。
Okay, I think we all know the drill by blah blah blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes
Oi.
some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
おい、全部すっ飛ばしたってこいつ。こいつ全部すっ飛ばした。やったからって。やっていいことと悪いことがあるよ。ここもなんか省略されたしな今。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, The truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
いやね。
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
せやな。潰される運命だからな。
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his
でも
demise,
これ
it
バケツ
reflected that his life had been of no
持ってない
consequence
時に来てないん
whatsoever.
だよな。
Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
あいよ。
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly
誰だ
into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
あり、
And finally, he pushed the number 9. Stanley stood on the roof. Let's see. Stanley walked over the green door.
なるほど。なるほどね。ゲームはアルファベットでフリーダムエンドの最初の姿でした。ああ、あれフリーダムエンドなんだ。カウントダウンルームわかんねえ。はあ。オフィス。 金舞い散っとるが。サンディがエイリアン戦うエンディングってなんだよ。ナレーターのメール。ちょっとずつ違うんだ、スタンリーのオフィスも。ゆらゆらしてるのちゃんと見てねえな。
Then he pushed the number 8.
ああ、そうだ、ここはナレ
Then
ー
he
ションの
pushed
リ
the
テイクだ。
number 4.
せやった。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one
はあは
another.
あはあ。
How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
って言われてもな。
Can you
Yeah.
see? Can you see
挟まれ
how
る
much they need
とこ
one
ろか
another?
ら始まるのか。
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
はい。
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time.
やれって言われたからやるわ。
This is the st-
おい、また最初にな
all
った
of
っ
his
て。
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
やれっ
Perhaps
て
he
言
had
ったの
simply
あの
missed a
女やろ
moment.
がい。もう一回入力最初からやり直しもしかして。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
もう一個の人形どこにあるんだろう。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Here's the door, just go.
ほら、もう開いてるって。もう省略してるよ。全部省略してるこいつ。どうしようもねえ。ほら、ここだってもうちょっと降りるさ、とこあったと思う
Stanley
のに
walked。straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
これ番号押せねえかな。
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
え
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Agarene.
And when at last he found the source... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were
あ、なん
supposed
か
to
バケ
let
ツ
it
持ってた
go,
らあれだよ
turn
ね。
the
かわ
controls
いい
off
鳥
and
の
leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what?
Wow,
To
これ
hell
失
with
敗したらもう一回や
I'm
るか。
going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle.
Goodbye,
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown.
閉じた。
Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
え終わった。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
待って、4つまで来た。4つまで来たぞ。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
4つま
Stanley
で来
knew
たけ
it
ど、5つ
perfectly
目はどこ
well.
ら辺に入るんだ。
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee
ルー
lounge
トがわかんねえ
first,
ぞ。
just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge.
あと
But
人形も
eager
1
to
個見
get
つかっ
back
て
to
ねえ
business,
ぞ。
Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
何を持ってんの
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to
ど
the
ないせっ
right?
つんだ、お
What
前。
was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
さっきのボタンの部屋なんかできねえのかな、わかんねえや。
Let's see, we went down right, left,
そういや、
down,
あれつけた
left, right.
ついてないね。
Okay,
あれは
okay,
ついてないよ。
I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way. No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
あ、なくなった。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
風船なくなったよ。ってことはバケツもなくなってると思うな。うん、バケツもないね。
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or...
混乱エンドですね、これ
Why
ね。
am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then, it's an adventure. Come, Stanley, let's find the story.
あ、戻ってきてね。
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
おい。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes.
行き止まり。
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our step. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't
おい、
recognize
違う
this
場所
place
来た
at
っ
all.
て。
Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no.
なんとかしろって。
I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay?
だからゲームが作られる司会っていうとこんな感じなのかなってちょっと不思議な体験してる感じ。
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
からラインに外れる。
No, I'm done. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
一人一人。消せねー。かこちゃんいらっしゃい。 まあとりあえず混乱エンドだよな。
You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a
こい
story?
つはストーリーに何を求めているん
Simply
だろ
by
う。
the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right?
あれ、あ、
Okay.
最初に戻ってきた。
Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office,
素直に
is
ついてい
this
けばよかっ
office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
おいまた音楽鳴り始めたって。わかんねえっていう感じしてる。タタラッタタタラタタラッタ。永遠に終わんねえじゃん。
Wait, cut the music. Go back and look at that firm. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No, no, no. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this... Oh, no, 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 not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it.
信じるためにって言われてる。
Restart.
ああ。あれ、パラボル2って言われてる。
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever
Yeah,
done for
awesome,
us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious.
いや、どうすんだよ。
This all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction? Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
それ TM。
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity.
人形があと一個
In
ど
fact,
こなんだ
I
ろう
believe
な
I。need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
じゃあ
What's
混乱
this?
エンドだ。
The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times?
8?8?
That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according
混
to the
乱エンドの
schedule,
ス
I
ケジュールを見
restart
つける。ナレ
again.
ーターが
Then
リ
what?
スタートする。
Am
タ
I
イム
just
リスター
supposed
ト。
to
ナレーターが
forget?
前のリスタート
Well,
を
what if
忘
I
れ
don't
る。
want to
スタン
forget?
リーがストーリーをプレイす
My
るも、
mind goes
操
blank
作される。
simply
どこに
because
も
it's
行けない。
written here on this,
ゲームが
this
自分で
thing
リスタートする。
wall.
もう一度ラインを見つける。ラインをたどる。劣化し始めたオフィスを作るレプリカを見せる。ここでストーリーを作ろうとする。ナレーター
Why
ゲームを
don't
リスタ
I
ート
get a
する。
say in all of this? Is it really?
7回目。
No, it can't be. I don't want it to be.
本屋見つける。飽きて去る。ゲームをリスタートする。ナレーターがいなくなる。そしてスタ
I
ンリー
don't
は
want
死
to
ぬ
be。trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped?
タイマーは止ま
Does
った
that
けど。
mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know?
混乱エンドのスケジュールを見つけるって何なんだ。
So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey. Though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now.
その話は
We'll
前も
find
聞いた
out,
ね。
won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
くそほどびっくりした今。ああ、風船が戻ってる。あ、え、あ、あ、あ、なに？ Welcome Stanley to Heaven って言われたけど。ボタンだー。お経みたいなのが流れてるんだけどなんで。全部突き直してる。やべえ、終わんねえのかこれは。やべえ。どうしろって言うんだこれ。え、何か僕はやることボタンを押す以外にあるのか。え？何なんだろうねこれね。え？僕が聞きたい。 僕はこれどこまでいればいいの？え？え？解決しないかもしれない。特殊なボタンがあるわけじゃなし。頭狂いそうなんだけど。どうするっかなよ
All of his co-workers were gone.
な。あ、やべ。
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
バケツを胸に抱いてもさ、ループするとこは一緒だったっけ？
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this no? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
上乗ってくとど
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the...
ああ、なるほど。
This is the sad
Buckets
story
no
of a man
dose
named
endo da.
Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him. The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him,
関係ね
all of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
え。フリーダムエンド確かこのバケツ持った状態では見てないよね。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
意味わからないよ。さっきは勝手に開けてくれたのに。これで分かんなかったら一旦休憩だな。休憩っていうか今日は終わりだな。この休憩化しましたがさ、たまに省かれてそのまま開いたりするんだよね。なんかそれがな、どうなんだろうな。
Comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
バケツで電源オンにしたらあれだったんだよね。鳥の
The lights rose
鳥の世
on
界
an
だった。
enormous room packed with television
例えば普通
screens.
に
What
出るエンドをや
horrible
ってなかっ
secret
た。
did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
バケツが初めてって言われてもそりゃそうだろ。バケツに意思はないが。
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's
バケ
influence
ツが
as
マインド
well?
コントロール
Had
下
the
にあるっ
bucket
て
been
なんだ
told
よ。
to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't
バ
accept
ケ
it.
ツに叫び
His
ましたとい
own
うこと
life
やね
in
ん。
someone else's control. Never! He
Never.
squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machine... Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it
あ、
over?
バケツと共に外に出るんだこれ。
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to
バケツと
support.
共に
What? Wait. What was
あ
happening?
あ、と思った。
Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to
バ
part
ケツだとこれ外に行けないの。
No. Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms, not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
E もうわかんないよ。はい、終わり終わり。今日は終わり。終わりだよ、もう。ヘブンに行ったところで何もわかんないよ。ずっと残ってしもう。あれ
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
待って、
Stanley
ちょっと
decided
待って、
to go to the
変わ
meeting
ってる。
room. Perhaps
え
he had simply missed a
変わ
memo.
ってるし、バケツあるんだが。
Ah, the embrace of an old friend, a weathered companionship. Stanley
Oh.
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
え
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the
何
bucket
の
walked
話
upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
ダメだ。どうしようもないぞ。やっぱり途中で降り
Stanley
る
and the
のが
bucket
全部
walked
省か
straight
れてた
ahead
な。
through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life. and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
バケツに感情を持たせるな。
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world.
バケツを何だと思ってんだ本当にこいつは。
He could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley
バ
gasped
ケツを持っていないときはなんかもう爆発するでで終わったけど。
claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly birds.
バケツがいると鳥たちになるんだこれ。 Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, 進展はなさそ
was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
う。エンドイズネバーのダウンローディングだったら一回終わりってことかな。はい。はい、一旦ここでいてててて。今日は終わり。一応明日から GTA サーバーがおそらく復活するであろう予定ではございますので、何卒よろしくお願いいたしますということで、お疲れ様でした。じゃあ寝ろ。私は明日も仕事です。お疲れ。